Oh, I should
So this is,
download it then.
so for folks who are going to listen to the recording, this is the beginning of the HomeKeeper webinar on the new release. And if you are calling in, I don't have the power to mute you. So if you can mute yourself just on your landline, that would be great. Because I can't do that. But thanks everybody for calling in, and bear with me since we are trying on a new platform because of the integration with the CLC network. Things might be a little wacky. But that said, things in HomeKeeper land shouldn't be too wacky. We're excited to announce that we have a new release that actually was finished in January. And it's available to you now. I think a couple of you have actually already updated. So that's what this webinar is about today. And so what I'll cover today is the improvements in the new release. What did we build? How can you update? How that changes how you can use HomeKeeper, what we might work on in our next release, and then we'll have some time for questions and answers as well. So to start, I don't know if everyone is familiar with the homeownership overview, but it's the section on the service file that gives you a step-by-step guide for the application, purchase, and resale section of the service file. And so if you have been using HomeKeeper for a while, you will remember this. Whoops, trying to draw on this and it's not working. You'll remember the application section. So I'm going to highlight that right now.
You get it?
And so this. And that's not
you want to hear? How
Michael,
can we hear together?
Michael?
Yes. Yes.
Can you mute yourself? Just because I can hear you helping someone get into the webinar, which is great.
Yeah. But, the only thing is, I'm calling from the computer. It's not a regular phone. And
okay.
In the past, I can mute on the screen, but this is different from the past when you did the webinar. So there's no icon that I can mute it,
Yeah, no problem at all. We're all figuring it out. So anyway, what I was saying, you're probably familiar with the application section. And so on the left side of this screen, there's an application section where you've been able to enter all of the information about a applicant. So it lets you create an applicant and a co-applicant at the same time. And so this section is old, and what's new is what you can see in the middle that I have highlighted already. So what we created is a link right there, and you can also add a link above, like where you click to enter applicants, to review National Real Estate Act, and it's also going to exist in the homeownership overview. A lot of controls in this. So when you click on the purchase summary link on either the top or the bottom, you're going to get to this page, which is a widget that's going to let you do most of the major tasks you want to get done when you're entering in a purchase at the very end. So you can still do all of your processes that you did before right on the service file, but you can also do them all in this one spot, and you can certify the purchase from this page. So you can see here there are some of the more important fields just about the purchase in general, initial purchase, program, property, seller. And then down in this section below, I actually got the old one and the new closing disclosure out and compared them. So since in October, they created a new closing disclosure, which is the new version of the old HUD one. They decided it was totally essential that they renumbered it. So what we did is we got those numbers. So if you're entering in historical data, we still have the HUD 1 label there, but we also have the closing disclosure label on that right side. And so so many folks started asking for that. Happily, it was a little bit after HUD introduced the new closing disclosure. but that's available for you to use as you enter in those new purchases. And so I'll note one thing about this, and I'm going to do a demo so I can show you there. You're probably used to using the help text, which is those little yellow arrows or bubbles on the service file. It's a lot of hours and a lot of expense to update that. So this is the solution we came up with since all of the numbers changed. So those numbers are still going to reference the old HUD one. But you can use this page to look at what the new closing disclosure labels are. And so this is moving down the page, and I'll open it up in just a second. But you're also going to be able to enter funding sources and appraisal. And we found that folks really liked how to enter in. People really liked the checks that HomeKeeper does for you. So, does my gross amount due match my funding sources? So you can see this is right here, and you can add new funding sources. So you're going to be able to see if these line up. My mouse is not doing well. But we also added this clue here. So this is going to tell you if you've entered the right appraisal too. So it'll tell you if you entered in an appraisal of the type buyer's purchase loan. And you can use the buttons like you normally would, and you can come right back to this, what we're calling purchase summary. Okay, that's slide 20. You can also enter the monthly housing costs and see the total right there. One of the other cool things you'll see on these pages is that you can save and recalculate. So if you are on the service file and you want to check your math, you have to scroll all the way to the top or the bottom and hit save, and then scroll right back to where you were. But in this page, you can just hit save and recalculate, and the page is a lot shorter. So you'll be able to check these numbers right on this page, and you don't have to move around very much. And we also added this check down here. So if you have some errors with your data entry or you want to make sure people are entering things in, this is going to make sure that you've entered all the really big monthly housing costs that your owners are going to be incurring when they purchase, so that you have those recorded and that you can do reports on them. And then this is the very bottom. And so you can see here, you can update the statuses, you can certify the purchase, you can save and just stay on this page, you can save and go back to the service file, or if you did something wrong and entered the wrong HUD one on some of the files, you can cancel. And so there are a few other things in the release, which I'll show in the demo, like an exit survey dashboard and some list views for housing opportunities. But the other thing I'm really excited about, if you're kind of a longer-term HomeKeeper user, you probably remember that most of these upgrades have involved a lot of things that you have to do, pages and pages of updates and pick lists and all that stuff. I'm happy to tell you this only includes 3 layout updates for you to do to really use the new stuff we've got. So I'm excited that it isn't too much for you folks. And so I'm going to switch to a different screen. So let's see if I can figure this one out. Okay, and just to check, can you folks see you should be seeing HomeKeeper now. Well, let me know if you can't see HomeKeeper, but I'm going to jump right into the demo. So if you're on the service file, one of the updates you can do, if you just want to jump right into the purchase summary, you can add this link to the layout, and that will take you right to the purchase summary. Or when you certify the income, this middle section is going to turn to green. And sorry, I'm letting someone in the webinar room. This middle section is going to turn to green. And so you can click on the purchase summary. And when you get to the purchase summary, it's that overview that I was talking about. And it's a little more exciting actually being in here. So it's not super long. It's a little long. But it's going to give you some context. So, okay, you can see that this purchase hasn't been certified yet. I need to certify it. It's going to bring these fields up that you really care about. And so the idea is you might have some of this information when you're working with a buyer and preparing for closing. You might know that they're going to have a Bank of America loan, and you might have already created a funding source. So you can see that shows up here, but we still need to add in the other ones. And you can see up top, I still need to enter a property. So let's say this buyer finally closed. I'm going to connect the property. I'm going to transcribe off either my HUD-1 or my closing disclosure. And I hope I wrote these numbers down right. I don't. Well, and we'll see how this works. But I don't think these are totally right. And so another cool thing, so you know all those checks that you probably liked a lot. We just added one right on this page that is not. It's just taking a while to run. So you can see that this gross amount due, you can play with these. So, you know, as you're entering those in, if you make a mistake, it's pretty easy to fix this. No, it was. And so now I'm going to save and recalculate, and hopefully what I have written down is going to check, and I'm going to get a yes. Well, I'm off by $36. I think that's okay for this demo. Then I move down and I can start entering in funding sources. And so the cool thing about this is that I can add a funding source. So let's say this is buyer's cash, and that they have contributed $1,000 to the purchase of this home. For buyer's cash, all I need to do is select buyer's cash, and we can say it came from buyer savings. Then when I click save, there's a button on the funding source. So this is another one of the manual updates. You won't see this unless you add it. But I can click on this button, and it's going to bring me right back to that purchase summary for the family. And so you can see now I've got two. And so I think I have a, let's say this is a city second. And it is a loan, deferred loan. And when I bring this back to the service file, or to the purchase summary, my mistake, you can see that we also have that check down here. So we've got that check here, and let's just say I missed that funding source, and I can add another one. So what is that, 1023. And if I go back to the purchase, it is going to show that that is reconciled. Or I got it wrong, it's in the other direction. But you guys are going to be entering real HUD, and your numbers are going to reconcile. There's also the appraisal section. So I know you folks have gone through a lot of hoops to sometimes estimate numbers, and it's still just going to give you the satisfaction of knowing, yes, I entered a buyer's purchase loan appraisal. No. So I'm going to skip this just for time. But if you enter an appraisal, this buyer's purchase loan, this will switch to yes. And then the next section is about monthly housing costs, and it sort of just brings them right in your face. And it pulls the monthly principal and interest from your funding sources. So you enter that on a loan funding source, and that's where that's coming from. And then you can enter monthly tax liability, insurance, land use fee, whichever ones are relevant to your program, and they'll total down here. So you can save and recalculate, and this will update. So let's say I didn't have insurance. Most homeowners should have an insurance call to get the full cost of owning a home. So this will give you a little bit of context clue if you're missing principal and interest, if you're missing taxes, or if you're missing insurance. And another step when you're certifying a purchase is to update the property address to the mailing addresses of the applicant. And so down here, we actually can copy the property address to these contact addresses. So we can do those three. And I guess I already have the status is kind of set. So just use to current owner. And then I'll hit save, and that'll keep me on this page. And when I'm happy with everything on this page and it looks correct, you can actually certify from this page as well. You can still certify on the service file like you always have, but if you are using this to kind of do a check, you can certify right from this page. And I'll just stop there. I can highlight the other things that were part of this release, but I'm happy to answer any questions folks have just from seeing me go through that. Hearing none, I'll just show you around to one of the other features that was part of this new release. Since I'm always doing reporting training, there was a lot of interest in one of the dashboards that I built for our exit survey training. So one of the things that we did was we are just giving you guys the dashboard that we built in that training. So yours will be the past owner dashboard. And so if you have exit data in HomeKeeper already, and you installed a new release, you can pull up this dashboard and hit refresh, and you will instantly have charts about where your owners went when they left your program. So you don't have to build it. We just gave you it. So you can just hit refresh, and your data will show up in here. And you can start incorporating it into your board reports or your newsletters, or just talking about it internally with your staff. And then another small piece that we added a few list views related to housing opportunities. So there's one for housing opportunities that have service file allocations, property allocations, and another one that shows you the fund balance of a housing opportunity. So if you're using that, hopefully that'll help you navigate a little bit easier. And this switch back to the PowerPoint. So I think you should see my PowerPoint again. And so how to update. How do you get access to all of the things I just demoed? The first thing, pull up the release notes and get the link. So in the support forum, there's a section called Release Notes and Manual Updates. It's in there. It also is linked to the last couple newsletters that I sent out. You're going to follow the link in there, which is right here. A squiggly line for you. So follow that link. The next thing you'll see is going to be a question that's going to ask you what profiles you want to install the update for. And most HomeKeeper users are going to want to install for all users. if you have done custom security, or if you know that different people are using different things and seeing different things, you're probably going to want to install for specific profiles, and you should talk to your lead Salesforce person internally about which profile should have access to HomeKeeper, and if that's an issue. But most people will just install for all users. It's a little slow, so you'll get this message, and it's going to be granting access. And you can check that it's installed by going to the back end and setup and going to installed packages. It should install within 20 minutes. So you should get an email, but if you don't, it usually installs within 20 minutes. And then the last step is that you'll want to read the release notes and check what the manual updates were. So those are listed. The only action items are for the purchase summary, and there are these 3 updates listed down here. So if you open the release notes, it's just updating some layouts with buttons and a link. So yeah, there's a little demo of, it's like dragging buttons onto the funding source and the appraisal layout. And so I've talked to a few users in the last, this fall, and some people say, I don't even have that homeownership overview. What are you talking about? So one thing that's good to check every time you put out a new release is that you've updated the old releases. And so I just wrote up a couple quick things to check. If this looks wrong, you might have missed some manual updates. So for 1.9, there are some, I didn't write down which pick list. There's some pick lists that we had you update. Also, if you're missing that purple and green box on your service file layout, you probably missed the 1.9 update, because one of the things we asked folks to do was to add the homeownership overview, or at least the enter applicants link. So if you don't have that and you want to use it, check the 1.9 release notes. In 1.10, we updated some of the funding source pick lists. So we added loan refinance, and we added buyer's cash paid outside closing. So if you don't have those, you might have missed updates. We also added, I think, property rescue in the resale type pick list. And then also, if you're missing any community investment fields on the service file, that's another signal on 110. And if you have any fields on your layout that say old in capital letters, you might have missed some of the 110 updates. And you can always send in a ticket if you do spot any of those things, and I can send you a link to the release notes, and I'm happy to answer any questions. And so the purchase layout that I talked about is a change in how you can use HomeKeeper. So before, I think most people either know it by heart or they use the directions and support forums for how to certify a purchase. They also, you guys know which fields are most important to you at purchase that are different than national roll-ups. So the only thing that is changing here is that we do have that centralized place for those big ticket items. And you can enter in funding sources, reconcile the HUD, enter in appraisal all in one place. It doesn't mean that you can't create a funding source before or after, and it doesn't mean that you shouldn't check that you're filling in your programs field or the national roll-up data, but hopefully it will make things a little bit faster. And so what's coming up next? So one of the things that you probably realize is, well, we have the new closing disclosure, and that goes for resale too. And I know, so that's one of the things that we'll be working on in our next release. So I actually have a cheat sheet up in the support forums if you do need to enter in a resale. A few people have emailed me about that. So I'll send a follow-up to this webinar with some links for you, and that you'll be able to look and see what the values are for resale on the closing disclosure. And we're also happy to incorporate anything that you guys are passionate about in our next releases. So if there's a dashboard you need, or you heard about a workflow rule that someone else has, like that auto-named service file, or if you're on office hours and really like something, you should know that that's something we can prioritize in our next release. So please do give us feedback. You can send it a ticket. You can put it in the feature requests in the support forum. And one other big project this year, we are changing lots of technology, and the support forums will probably look a little bit different. And that'll be a project we're working on this year because of changes in the Zendesk platform. Yeah, and so the cheat sheet, I'm sorry, I don't have the links for you right off the top of my head, but it'll be in an email after this call. And again, feature requests are always welcome, and bug spots are incredibly helpful. So always let us know if something is acting weird, looks wrong, or if you're running into something that just doesn't make sense. And then I think I booked this webinar to be an hour, so we'll probably end a little early, but I'm happy to answer any questions folks have, or to open that purchase summary back up and show you guys around. And
I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
For the manual updates, do you know what date those were? Those came out. So if we got HomeKeeper last year, would there have been manual updates that we missed?
Let me open up the release notes and we can look together. I don't know. Sorry, trying to figure out this thing. I'm going to open it up and we will find out. I think that our last release happened in last June, if I'm remembering correctly, but we can look and see. So let's see. So 1.10 came out in May of 2014, and so this last release was done in December, just a month ago. So yeah, so if you came on board before May 2014, then you might have missed 1.10. But if you signed up for HomeKeeper after that, you should be fine. It should have all the latest updates.
Okay. And can we be using HomeKeeper while another person is updating it?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
And especially if it's these updates, you won't notice anything too different. Like like just that homeownership overview will change how it looks a tiny bit, and you might see a button pop up, but you're totally fine to be, doing. That shouldn't affect you actually doing anything in HomeKeeper. So yeah, you don't have to wait for folks to. You don't have to wait for anyone to go in and update things.
Oh, great. And is there a way in a HomeKeeper, is there something that I can click on that goes directly to the support forum without having to re-sign into another area?
No, there is not. There's a tab called Support, and it will open the support forums, and if you're already logged in, you'll still be logged in. I don't know why this isn't working, but this support tab should bring up Zendesk, but they're actually like two unique logins, and they don't talk to each other. So you do have to log in separately.
Okay, thanks.
So this is a question for you folks. You can type in the chat box, you can pipe up, but is having those logins be tied together so you only have to remember one, is that something that would improve using HomeKeeper a little? Is that something you would like? It's something that, from my perspective, I think it would help people get to support faster. Is that so having one login, so log into Salesforce, also logging you into support? Does that seem like something that would be nice to have or really awesome to have?
I think it'd be really great to have.
I guess you're speaking for the group. But,
I agree. I think it would be great. This is Linda from Long Island.
Okay. Great. That's kind of an inkling I've had. We might do a little bit more surveying just to figure out how much it might cost to get that all set together, but I think it would help too. And then did you have any other questions?
That was
No.
it for me, Liz.
I actually looked at my old system. This is Linda. I don't think I have the other updates because I don't have
really?
the 1.10.
Okay.
So I'm going to go back to release notes.
Yeah. So, Linda, I can send you these, but we can also, I don't know, I feel like you folks, I would have thought you had the updates. Here's the link to the 110 manual update.
I have again. I'm not sure. I don't think I see it though.
Okay. Well, another thing just for folks to know is that we're kind of in the midst of all this transition, so we don't have office hours this month, but we'll have office hours starting next month. And we're going to do them on the second Tuesday of the month and the fourth Thursday. So, Linda, you can call into one of those meetings, and we can talk about where you are on this update.
Okay. I'm going to double check it though.
Okay, great. I just pasted the link in the chat box. Great. Well, if folks don't have any other questions, I'll stop the recording and I'll hang out for like the next 5 minutes. But otherwise, thanks for bearing with our technical difficulties. And hopefully we'll see you at our roadmap and recap webinar, which is going to be on January 28th. And so there should have been some registration links that would allow you to register for that as well. But thanks for calling in, and let me know how you like the update.